Hello, everybody. This is the start of my new podcast. So this will be my first episode as of now. Um, I am DK Productions. That is going to be my company. I just employees are me. Anyway, I'm working on a home video movie that I will soon put onto YouTube when I create my actual YouTube channel. And from now on, I'm just starting off with podcasts because it's easier and it's not as hard to edit a video or film a video, even though, I haven't even really had experience with editing a podcast yet. This is my first ever podcast, so I'm going to be doing this podcast for quite some time. I plan to carry it on pretty late. Um, so, the name of this podcast, as seen, is going to be the No Homework Podcast. Um, and I will actually have another podcast that is linked to it on my same podcast thing. It'll be basically the same thing, except I do it on the weekends, and it's not about homework. It's when I do it and just for fun. And I'll be doing it with a friend, so we'll have always our friend there. He's going to be part of the podcast. It's going to be the main thing of the podcast on the weekends. But during the weekdays, I just upload. I'm going to upload my singular done podcast episodes. I'll just be doing things alone. So yeah, that is what I'm going to be doing within the next few years or months at least. We'll see how long this lasts. So anyway, I plan to start this podcast and get it pretty far. So genres. So we will be talking about video games. We'll be talking about music, pop culture, possibly. Music, possibly. We'll talk about other things too. Books and just other entertainment topics that are very interesting in the latest today's world. I don't want to cover any media or news though. I do not intend to do that at all. But yeah, so I'm here in my chair, and I decided to finally start this because when I get home from high school, I usually have nothing to do. So I figure, why not start a podcast? And so I thought this was a great idea. And here I am now. I'm doing a podcast. This is my first episode, and I was pretty excited to get to this today. I was thinking about it all day. I was like, I cannot wait to get home and start my new podcast. So tomorrow, at least I plan to possibly. Tomorrow, it's possible that I plan to have a guest star if I do record a podcast tomorrow. I'll be editing and working on this one. I don't know if I'll be releasing it this particular day, which is the 5th of April, or sometime later, like Friday perhaps, because I'm going to try to get them edited and released on the same day, so that way it's kind of like a daily thing. It won't always be a daily thing, mind you, because the name of the podcast is No Homework Podcast. You cannot, if I'm doing homework and I'm busy, then I'm not going to do this podcast whatsoever. If I have a little bit of homework, maybe I'll get to you guys and we'll do a little bit of No Homework Podcast. But anyway, yeah, I plan to make movies, little homemade movies, and I'm going to plan to start putting them on YouTube. I've been wanting to do this for a while now, but life's just too busy. And yeah, anyway, so another topic I didn't cover. Well, as the introduction to this podcast, pretty much, that's all I can say so far. So, anyway, yeah, there's not much to it. We're just going to be doing basic things, just random topics, We're not going to get, like, crazy, like, serious about politics and whatnot. I do watch podcasts that go into that, and I don't usually watch them because I find it particularly boring. But yeah. Anyway, so plan to just talk about video games. So currently my computer is broken. I was actually gonna start doing stuff like recording and stuff on my computer, but unfortunately it's kaput. So because the motherboard is fried, I tried everything to help. I did it before, and the same problem I had, but when I tried to fix it, it wouldn't, work this time. So that thing is melted and sitting somewhere in my room here. I can't remember quite where, but it's somewhere in here. So I've got this other old Dell laptop here running on Linux Mint, and I'm trying to figure out how to work that out. It's kind of a pain in the butt to reset it and everything. See, I was a little stupid about this because I created an account for it, and then I forgot my password and everything, and that's where I fall short in some things. But anyway, yeah. Little things about me. I like to wear watches, and I'm playing with a rubber band right now. I don't know. I'm just moving it around, kind of. So today's a pretty chill day, actually. It's not too bad outside. It's getting there, rainy-ish, kind of. So for school, yeah. Lately I've been reading this book called Player One Ready. It is pretty sick. It's about this basically it's this corporation and owned by a man named James Halliday, and he built it, and he was like the world's best game designer, and he ended up building an immersive virtual reality rig called the Oasis, and it's basically a virtual world wherever you can do whatever the heck you want. Anyway, I don't want to explain the entire story to you because, some of you might be reading this book, so it's not fair to you guys. But I'm pretty far into it. I'm almost done with it. I have the last 68 pages left, somewhere around that number. So yeah, another thing I want to discuss about this podcast, something interesting. What was it? Yeah, but this is the No Homework Podcast. I will have podcasts on the weekends. And I plan to have a special guest star tomorrow. That is my best friend. So how I'm going to do that is you'll basically be hearing him over some telephone calls. So that'll work out pretty well. We'll see how that works out. I'll work that out somehow. Maybe I can get him to come in clearer than a telephone call. But yeah, so that's what I plan to do on this podcast. I feel like including it at the moment, but it's a podcast and there's supposed to be hours worth of listening. But I don't really have anything to really discuss about. I should have brought up a topic. I know that. That's my bad. But that's what I plan to do, So giving for my intro, I don't know if that's available. I like to build with Legos a lot. I've constructed 2, if you would like to call pirate ships. I personally don't really, but I guess they are kind of pirate ships. A galleon and a frigate. Then I've constructed a biplane, which slightly resembles that of a Sopwith Camel mixed with an albatross perhaps from World War I anyway. And then I've also built helicopters, numerous little cool-looking colored robot things that were in my intro, if I'm able to put my intro in. I'm going to stutter those words because I'm going to have to edit them out about the intro. But anyway, my intro's about that, and it shows some of that. And so I plan to become DK Productions. I originally made a ton of home videos on my older computer with my older iPhone, and I never ended up really doing anything with them, so they're just kind of stuck on that destroyed, demolished computer. Yeah, that's about it. There's not much to that. Lately I've been interested in watching Fallout 4 videos on YouTube, other such things. Not much else I really do. I mean, I was going to do a track and field, but, that never worked out. Anyway, that is my podcast. I'm not going to explain too much about myself because, it's my personal life, and I just plan to talk about other topics within this podcast. And it's not about me. It's more about these news and games and whatnot. Anyway, possibly plan to add to this later on, of course. Perhaps tomorrow I will have an episode, and definitely I'll try to get this episode out today, or this episode will be out Friday. So there might be 2 episodes released Friday. I don't know. It's still kind of a confusing schedule. But if you're just joining this podcast, which all of you just are, because this is my first episode, I hope to have a good amount of people watching, because listening. It's going to be a pretty I think it's going to be pretty good, a fun podcast. I plan to really get far with this. Plan to dedicate my time to it. But yeah, so I'll be doing lots of things on this podcast, and it'll be in the interest of most of you viewers that are within the range of gaming, and entertainment topics, and just technology, basically. Yeah, so that's what I plan to do with this podcast. It's pretty simple. So yeah. So yeah. Yeah, so goodbye guys, and I will catch you in the next podcast when this one is uploaded. Goodbye.